Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's like a plug. Whenever I hit go, it's just like whoop, and I appreciate it. So today we are continuing with the book Meat Eater by Steve Rinella. We have a couple more days of Meat Eater, and then we're going to dive into another book called American Wife by Taya Kyle, who is the wife of American sniper Chris Kyle. It's a tremendous book, and actually started reading ahead. The last couple books I've started reading ahead a little bit, such that I'm well into another book when I'm chronicling a book here on AMXbooks. Another book. And man, I was reading American Wife yesterday at Panera, and it's heavy stuff. And it's a really good book, and it's content that's not easy to talk about, but I'm excited to bring it to the show, and I'm excited to talk about it because it's extremely important. It's a very good, it's an incredible book, and you know, Chris Kyle, American Sniper, has a tremendous story, and he is a hero, so it's awesome to get his story from his wife's perspective. So that'll be coming to the show next. But now, today, we are talking about Meat Eater by Steve Rinella. Let us, as they say, rock and roll. All right, 1, 2, 3. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the Spaniard Show. This is the Spaniard, and this is AMXbooks 648, studying the book Meat Eater by Steve Rinella. You can get this book and every other book at charliespaniard.com/reading list. So if I name a reference to your thing, slow down, man, slow down, don't worry. It's at charliespaniard.com/reading list. I want to put out a warning here. There's some graphic things that I'm going to say. It has to do with hunting and the serious business of hunting. So if you're sensitive to some the graphicness of hunting, hit pause, fast forward, or perhaps come back tomorrow. But this was the part that I thought was really interesting and really important to discuss. Let's dive into it. Again, this is graphic content. So right now we're going to talk about the serious business of hunting, right? So there's a section in the book where Rinella dives into the process of what you do after you shoot an animal, like how you prep it to then eventually eat it. And he says this, quote, again, graphic content, quote, "When you're field dressing an animal, a practice known less delicately as gutting, you have to split open the rib cage and reach inside and grab the heart and sever its moorings. It's hard to do this without coming to the realization that you're engaged in a very serious business." Now, I've been around hunting my entire life. I grew up with it. I've been around it. My dad hunts, my uncles hunt. You know, it's just something that's been in my life. And until recently, after watching, I had heard this idea, this word dressing. You know, I dressed it after we dressed it, and I truly didn't know what it meant. Rinella would use the term on his show, Meat Eater on Netflix. I didn't know what it meant. But field dressing, or dressing an animal in the field, is the same as gutting it. That's a necessary part of the deal here. And that's why in the book, Rinella says that it's hard, you can't do this without coming to the realization that you're engaged in a very serious business. There's sensitivity to this. And it's interesting, as I present this book and I present these ideas, not just this book, but other books as well, but in the here and now, specifically about this book, using the term like shoot an animal, kill an animal, gut an animal, those are things that I used to say in my life without even thinking twice about it. It was just what you did, right? You went hunting, you shot the animal, you killed the animal, you got the animal, you brought it home, you butchered the animal. But it's interesting to see, and I'm speaking kind of about the thing now rather than just speaking of the thing, is that our sensitivities have evolved over time. And it's not, I'm not saying anything about that other than it's interesting that you have to really think about the terminology that you use. Rinella goes on to say this, quote, "At a time, it was impossible for humans to live without coming face to face with this kind of nastiness." So Rinella's being very forthright here about this idea. It's very serious. It's not fun. It is a part of the deal, but he's saying it was impossible for humans to live without coming face to face with this kind of nastiness. There was no hiding, listen to this, there was no hiding from the fact that we have to kill to eat. So there's these ideas of morality. I mean, Rinella talks in the book several different instances of him battling with his own ethics, I'll say, rather than morality, dealing with hunting. He's the most hunter there is, but he still deals with this idea of this is a live animal. Am I treating it with respect? Am I valuing it? Am I doing it properly? Am I operating within the proper code of conduct, which we'll get into in a little bit? But I thought it was really interesting. So he says at a time it was impossible for us to live without coming face to face with the fact that we have to kill to eat. Now, I'm speaking from the perspective of it's hard to even say these words because I don't want them to be taken the wrong way. But it's interesting to see how our disconnection, so at a time you couldn't help but be close, you couldn't help but be close to that nastiness, field dressing an animal, understanding, hey, I have to kill to eat. There's a lot of disconnection. There is total disconnection from the food that you eat. We won't think twice about going to McDonald's or anywhere else and eating meat and blah, blah, blah. But then when you actually say like, oh, you have to, harvest an animal or shoot an animal, you have to gut or field dress an animal, then it becomes, whoa, 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 what's going on here? And I think the further and further disconnected that we get, and I'm not just talking about food here, I'm talking about anything, each other, right? When it's a human, it's the same thing on social media. When I'm talking to a human being, I operate within a certain code of conduct. When it's social media, it all becomes, oh, that person doesn't even know me. I don't say whatever I want. I never have to. I just got a hate message the other day. Someone wants to fight me, and they don't know me. They don't know anything about me. But it's that disconnection is dangerous, and it's a slippery slope. So what I'm encouraging, or Gracie and Rocky, one day, if you listen to this, is connect. Understand where things come from. Connect with people. Form these real relationships. Next thing I want to talk about is tattoos and salmon, right? The connection between tattoos and salmon. In the book, Rinella says this, quote, there's an old saying that nothing looks better than a 10-day-old tattoo, and nothing looks worse than a 10-year-old tattoo. I got my first tattoo when I was 15, so I guess mine looks pretty bad. It's 22 years old. He goes on to say, quote, that was me talking there, not him. He goes on to say, quote, you could say something similar about the taste of salmon. So Rinella has a shack in Alaska, Prince of Wales Island or something island. But he's talking about the taste of fish, and he's saying that the taste of fresh fish doesn't last long. Quote, it deteriorates right before your eyes. He goes on to say, I feel a little bad for people who have never eaten a salmon within hours of its being caught. I'm putting this out there. I'm including this in today's segment for two reasons. One, because I thought to myself, maybe this is on my bucket list. Maybe one of my goals is to go Alaska and eat fresh caught wild salmon. Maybe that's a bucket list thing. Or maybe it is for you, or I want to encourage you, as well as I am going to try to embark on the opportunity to eat fresh fish hours after it were caught, hopefully by my hand or by the hand of someone with me. He says that he feels bad for people who have never eaten salmon within hours of its being caught. Another thing I want to throw in here is I've heard this before, and then he spelled it out, that they use red dye to stain farm-raised salmon. So salmon that are not born and grow out in the wild, who raised on a farm or in a factory, they're dyed pink, or whatever that color is, pink-ish, to resemble salmon caught in the wild. He tells a story about a bunch of seals eating farm-caught salmon and then going to the bathroom and the rocks being stained pink from all the dye. But I thought that was really interesting. But I wanted to point out especially the idea of the fresh-caught fish, because to me that's inspiring thing of this delicious wild-caught salmon from the river to my mouth. And then lastly, I want to talk about our negotiation with risk and danger in aliveness. Rinella says, quote, when I'm not hunting, this is really funny because it reminds me of fighting. When I'm not hunting, I always think that I like hunting because it puts you into risky situations that make you feel especially alive. But when I am hunting, I'm tempted to dislike hunting for the exact same reasons. With fighting, with professional fighting, it's that same deal. I love it. It makes you feel alive. It's put it all out there. It's come home with your shield on it. But then it's like, this sucks. Put myself out there. Come home with my shield on it. This is terrible. I want it to be over. But it was really interesting to see that yin and that yang, or that balance. But that risk, right? Remember, it's all a negotiation. Figure out where your spot is. Find your balance, my folks. This has been AMXbooks 648 Meat Eating. You can get this book, every other book on my website, as well as my speaking programs. And if you'd like to support the show, visit patreon.com/Charlie Spaniard. We'll be giving out our first giveaway here in the next few days in the new year. See ya. Hello, Marcos Martinez. Happy New Year, my friend. AMX Books 648. That means that we're going to come up on 650 here soon. That's it, folks. I'll be back tomorrow for AMX Books 649. Tomorrow, mañana sale un episodio nuevo. AMX Books, AMX Talks 212 mañana. So Thursdays, folks. Monday through Friday, AMX Books. Tuesday, AMX Kids. Thursday, AMX Talks, which are interviews. And Saturday, AMX Weekly. This is your one-stop shop for lifelong learning. Be sure to subscribe on the Spaniard Show, on iTunes, whatever podcast app you have. YouTube.com/Charlie Spaniard. Facebook.com/Charlie Spaniard, or at Charlie Spaniard on social media. All the books I reference are at charliespaniard.com/reading list. Talk. I'm out of here. See you tomorrow.